testing times.
All right. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been criticized for missing the early COVID-19 crisis meetings. That and more news from our EBC correspondent in London, Jennifer Ringwood. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Hi, Alma. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. What are your updates for us today?
We have quite a lot. I mean, the ongoing issues with PPE seems to be the most prominent thing on the headlines at the moment. We've had warnings from different sectors that Dr. Chand Nagpal, he's the chair of the Council of British Medical Associations. He's told Sky that 50% of doctors are saying that they don't feel that they have adequate protection. The government is reinstating that PPE is their first priority. We have had calls that local businesses have been offering to make PPE, but many have not heard back from the government. So there's a certain amount of tension and frustration with this issue because there are people offering to solve the problem and they're not getting as far as they want to with it. We had a delayed delivery from Turkey. We believe that some of that has arrived, although we don't have an update yet on if it's all been counted and how much of it is actually here now. On Sunday in Downing Street, there was an announcement that Paul Dayton, the former Olympic chief, has been appointed to lead the effort to domestically produce PPE. So he's leading that new effort there. It's later emerged that the large shipment from Turkey was delayed. I've already mentioned that. And the government has said to everybody that we shouldn't be thinking of lifting these restrictions now until we are absolutely certain that we are on a downward trajectory, which is something that they are not certain of right now. The next leading story that I've been seeing across different networks on the BBC, on Sky, on Channel 4, there is a new blood plasma treatment that is being trialled, and volunteers are being asked to come forward because they are thinking that there may be a benefit. Again, I don't have full details on that, but that seems to be a story that's trending this morning. Something very helpful to UK businesses, which should help as an employee retention scheme. The website is now up and running for the government website to show and help businesses to apply. So they can now get online and access wages for those of their employees that they have already been paying out of their savings who are currently on furlough. So this should help them, although again, it's difficult to say if all of the businesses are going to benefit from this and which ones will be excluded. But that would be a main thing for those businesses in the meantime, while this lockdown is still in place, for them to be able to keep their staff so that when it's over, they still have a business to go back to and they won't be bankrupt yet. It is strange to look around. Everything is so empty here. Other stories that have been coming up, the issue of vulnerable people. So those who are in isolation, self-isolation because of immune suppression, because of other underlying issues, especially respiratory conditions, we're finding that there has been an anomaly. And this again, people have had to, in some cases, register on this online government form, which is similar to the one that they've just released today for the wages scheme. This one is different, and again, there's been varying degrees of success. Some people have been able to access the priority food deliveries and things like that, but we've also had reports this morning on the BBC again that 13,000 vulnerable letters had been wrongly sent, and that is in Wales. There was a quite sad story this morning. I don't think it's necessary to go into that, but it is showing that there is still some struggles in just getting the basics. If you are supposed to be self-isolating and you shouldn't be going out, there are still many people in this country who are having to rely on friends, neighbours and complete strangers in a lot of cases to help them just to survive on a daily basis. I think there are a lot of councils that are also helping out. I know that's been the case here in Redbridge. It's been the case in Havering, which is in the southeast of Greater London. And the last story that has been dominant over the whole weekend, which is why I'm leaving it till last, is the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. He's very concerned about lifting any lockdown. As I said earlier, his idea is that he wants to try and minimise or in some way avoid a massive wave of a secondary infection in the country. He's obviously faced a lot of criticism. There was something in the I think it was the Sunday Times. Let me just check here. Let me check my facts. Sunday Times newspaper saying that he had missed COBRA meetings or government emergency response meetings, and quite quickly Mr Gove has come to the Prime Minister's defence to say that this isn't fair and there is inaccurate information there. If we think back, the country has been on lockdown since March 23rd officially. The death toll currently lies at 16,060 after a further 596 over the weekend. That, again, it doesn't necessarily include deaths in the home that could have been suspected coronavirus, deaths in care homes as suspected coronavirus. So we can't really rely on those death figures at the moment because we really aren't sure what is completely being included there. And the Prime Minister has been off sick since the 27th of March. As we know, he was hospitalised and released only on the 12th of April. But again, the message over the weekend is that he is fully in charge. He is in control, and all of the major decisions are being made by him. That has been reinforced again and again. They'd like us to not look at this lower figure of 596 and just automatically assume that we're starting to plateau, although that is what they're hoping. And that was stated by Jenny Harris, who is the Deputy Chief Medical Officer for England. And it's not fair to say that we are past her peak. Those were her words. I believe that was, I'm not sure if that was yesterday or today. Oh, there is a lot here to go through, Alma. And it's, the last words that I'm just going to give you here is the Prime Minister took all the major decisions, which is what Mr Gove has said to us. And nobody can say that the Prime Minister wasn't throwing heart and soul into the virus. And he has absolutely been leading the effort to fight the virus. And again, it just comes back to these criticisms that PPE was reduced, our healthcare don't seem to be fully protected. Did we react too late? All of those types of things are being mentioned at the moment, but it seems like there is a lot in place to try and be positive about. I mean, those figures coming down this weekend, I mean, I think all of us are quite hopeful that there is an end in sight, although we have had to extend our lockdown down for a further 3 weeks. Over to you, Alma.
All right. Thank you very much, Jen, for all that update. How are you doing? Can you give us a little bit of your background of your family and how you're doing, how you guys are coping with this crisis?
We're fine. My mum and I, we're both high risk. I have a wonderful general practitioner who has been calling me almost every week, just checking because she knows I have a stubborn streak. She keeps saying, "Have you gone outside?" I just have to say to her, "No, I haven't." Okay. I basically have ongoing issues because I am immune suppressed. I've had recurring infections since December, pneumonia, pleurisy, bronchial infections. I'm just, I was a bit out of action for a few days last week, but I'm a lot better. And at the end of the day, for people like myself, this is normal. If we focused on that and worried about that, then all you would hear is misery from us. And at the end of the day, we're still useful members of society. I feel great. It's sad to hear nurses that looked after me when I was in intensive care many years ago, having a bit of just letting off steam, I guess. It's heartbreaking to hear them, to know what they're doing, but at least I have a use. They've got someone to talk to. I've been able to make my own small efforts at making PPE and things like that, which hopefully will be useful for them.
Oh, I'm sure.
But here, We have priority delivery. We've got wonderful neighbours, and we're fine. So,
Oh, well. Thank you so much for that. And always stay healthy, please, for us. Thank you